Happy holidays, Raider Nation nationwide.
Let's go.
Get some.
Raider!
Yo, Raider Nation, what is going on? I'm Hardcore Raider. We got two special guests backstage, so we're going to bring them on and got a good show planned for you guys. So we got the one and only Afakasi Raider. What up? What up? And then we got Aunt Six Soldier. Salute, guys. What up?
What's up? Thanks for having us on Hardcore. How you doing today, brother?
Hey, thanks for joining me, man. Good to see you guys.
It's good, Hardcore. What's good? What's good? Everybody in the chat, I see you all. How are we all? Kind of like that little harmonious tune you had going on in the subscribe little video you played. It's like,
yeah. I'm going to put Afakasi's link in the chat. So if you guys aren't subscribed to him, he's got a YouTube channel, Talks Raiders. So does a great job over there. So make sure you guys check him out, sub to him. But cheers, Raider Nation. Hopefully everybody's doing good. And then Aunt Six, dude, one of my OGs, dude, back in the day. Appreciate you coming on here. Going to chop it up, talk some general manager, kind of see what you guys are thinking. Give a quick shout out to the chat, and we'll get this party started. Got Michael 918. What up? What up? Art White, salute. Mark Cabone, how you doing, brother? And then maybe we can get into some of the chat and your guys' thoughts after we kind of get going here. I'll scroll back up. Hollis Aarons, appreciate you. Thanks for the compliment there. D Menace, what up? What up? Rebel Raider, salute. Got a bunch of our guys on here, so appreciate you guys. Much love, Ryan Miller. Hopefully, all you guys doing good, man.
Sorry, just that comment with Rebel. Sorry to hear about those people. I think he said some people were close to him that died or passed. That comment.
Sorry, let me go back up. I was going through them fast. I didn't. Oh, dang, dude. Sorry, Rebel.
Yeah, sorry to hear my friend.
Sorry about that. My condolences to you, brother.
Hang in there, bro. You know we got your back. You need anything, hit me up. DM me, bro. So, but, well, with that being said, there's a little sobering moment there. All right. All right. So we got this new GM, coming down line. We got released today. Tom Telesco. Kind of curious what you guys think. I do have kind of some of his history I want to go over. We can kind of hit that first, or if you guys want to kind of give your initial thoughts, we can do that as well. I'm kind of open game, however you guys want to roll with this thing.
Man, however you want to do it, Hardcore, it's up to you, brother. It's your show.
Let's go over the history a little bit and then kind of get into our takes on it, okay? All right, so give me a second. All right, so right here we got just kind of some of his history. The GM that we brought on, Tom Telesco. Buffalo Bills, 91 to 94. He was an intern during that time. I guess he just did summers over there. Kind of the main interesting thing to me was just the fact that if you look at when the Bills went to the Super Bowl back in the 90s was 91 to 94. So like right from the start, this general manager and his kind of upbringing, I felt like was during a pivotal time when the Buffalo Bills had a really super stud team Jim Kelly was the quarterback. That's the Thurman Thomas era. I mean, they had a bunch of stars. I'm going to miss some, but the main thing I just want to like kind of point out is that he was an intern on his start in the NFL as he was going to college, putting in some summers there, kind of learning the ropes from, in my opinion, one of the best teams during that era. I know they never won a Super Bowl, but they went, 4 years in a row. So that kind of stood out to me. And then, I'm not going to say too much about the Panthers, just mainly because I didn't feel like nothing stood out to me for that time he was at the Panthers. But then the other main one was right here with the Indianapolis Colts, 1998 to the year 2000. I'll pull up kind of real quick some of their draft picks that kind of stood out to me that I was looking at. Obviously, Peyton Manning, super stud quarterback, Edward James, Reggie Wayne,
Dwight
Freeney. Those guys were super studs. Dallas Clark. And of course, he was not the general manager during this time, but he was part of that organization. Bob Sanders, I remember him. He was a pretty good cornerback or safety, if I remember correctly. So, and some of the other guys, those are just kind of some of the main ones that kind of stood out to me. And then, his time at the Chargers. Just kind of go through this real quick. And this isn't even up to date. This is like last was 2020, but Justin Herbert, Tillery, Derwin James, Mike Williams, Joey Bosa, Melvin Gordon. So really some good first round draft picks. Nasir, I actually like that dude coming out of the draft. Denzel Perryman, we all know him.
There's the name, Monte Teo.
Yeah, he ended up being a bust. I thought he was going to be good.
I know.
Man.
Shout out to his girlfriend.
Drew Tranquil, I thought he was going to be good. I remember him back then. Trying to think of any of these other guys. I'm skipping over this pretty fast, but I just want to see if there's any guys that like really stood out to me. But and I think he drafted Keelan Allen too. Here, I got another screen I'm gonna pull up here real quick. So right here were Pro Bowlers during his run with the Chargers: Keenan Allen, Joey Bosa, Derwin James, Justin Herbert, to kind of name a few. So I thought that was kind of important. But that's just kind of a brief history of the guys. The general manager that we took on today. I am an Champ Kelly fan. I thought him and Antonio Pierce was going to be a good combo, but I'm not exactly upset at kind of the way the direction the Raiders went. But on 6, I know you're probably not as positive, so I'm kind of curious on your feelings and what you were, kind of thinking going into this. And I think a lot of us Raider Nation were probably a little bit surprised that the Raiders went this route versus Champ Kelly or Ed Dodds. But what are you thinking so far, bro?
Nah, I'm not gonna lie. When I first heard it, I was absolutely mad and pissed off and shit. Especially knowing how bad the Chargers are in cap space hell, and they're about to cut half their team just to get under the cap space. You know what I mean? I understand this guy has hit on numerous first round picks and drafted 3 franchise quarterbacks, but I can't deny the chemistry that AP and Champ had. You know what I mean? And the thing is that worries me now more than anything. It's all the scouting and everything that's been done over the last couple of months, and you know what I mean, for the football season, because Champ Kelly knew the kind of player that Tony and Pierce wanted. Now, you know what I mean, we got to get the new GM in here. Now he has to sit down with Tony and Pierce, and now him and Pierce got to get on the same page and shit. So that's the only thing that has me worried and shit. I just wish this would have happened a lot sooner, you know what I mean, so they can have everything in place. But at the end of the day, it is what it is.
I like it. What about you, Afikasi? What are you thinking, bro?
Well, at first I was a little bit of a head scratch. I was thinking, well, the Chargers GM. So I had to kind of take a moment to kind of just do my quick research and, you know what I mean? Like look at it just from the quick outside in, because I don't really follow too much football outside of Raider football. But just by looking at it, like, I mean, the Chargers, I hate to say this, I'm a Raider fan, but like whether we like to admit it or not, like they've had more of a degree of success than we've had since that 2013 season, since he took over the reins. They made 3 playoff appearances. They won 2 games. We've made 2 playoff appearances, won no games. You know what I mean? Like their draft, from just looking at it real quickly, picks have turned out to be, it looks like, to be a little bit better than what ours has, which would also lead to better results. I want a Champ. Like as you said, on 6, I like his chemistry with AP. But at the end of the day, look, like AP was my guy. I'm happy that we hired him and he's our guy. I'm hoping we can do the same with PG. Champ Kelly, I mean, he's not out of the door yet. I mean, he's still there as an assistant GM. Maybe we might retain him in that role. If he stays, fantastic. I think that'd be great. But it might actually work out. Like I was talking to you guys off camera, like that. If we have a guy who's not joint at the hip, so to say, with our head coach, you know what I mean? Like the way that Mayock and Gruden were joined at the hip, the way that McDaniels, McDoofus, and Dave Ziegler were joined at the hip. You know what I mean? Like someone who's like, I mean, can think independently and make their own decisions. You know what I mean? As well as like, you know, come together with each other and of course try and do what's best for the team, but not someone who's joined at the hip. Like I said, might be what's best. But if we can keep Champ Kelly in the door, fantastic. I'm all for it.
Yeah. No, and I'll be honest, I wanted Champ Kelly. I thought that was going to be a really good fit, but I kind of thought about it again because I had kind of the first reaction as you guys. I was kind of disappointed. But then I thought about it and I was like, you know, like what has the Raiders done since Al Davis died, right? Because we all know Al Davis was like the general manager, right? Running the ship, you know, kind of deal. We got Reggie McKenzie, first-time GM. We got after Reggie McKenzie, John Gruden, and then the Mike Mayock, you know, experiment. And then we got Dave Ziegler. And all those guys were like first-time GMs, you know, McKenzie, right. Mayock, and, yes.
Ziegler.
So, you know, I thought about it like that. And I'm like, you know, maybe we need to do something a little different, you know, because us being the, you know, the trial test dummy for some of these general managers has not worked out. And if we're going to go with a rookie GM, then I could kind of see, you know, or if we are going with a rookie coach, then going with a rookie GM might be a little bit tough, even though Champ has a lot of experience. So that was just kind of my thinking. I'm not saying I'm like, right. I just was like, well, I could see going a different route, how it could have some positives. And then the next thing that stood out to me, to be honest with you guys, is I'm like, I started doing research because I was kind of had the same opinion as you guys. I was like, well, I remembered he was on the Colts. I just didn't remember the time frame when he was on the Colts. So that's why I wanted to pull up his history a little bit and share it with you guys. Because you look at this time in the Colts, guys, right. You know, he was an area scout. So, yeah, he wasn't a big scout, but Peyton Manning was drafted in 1998. Again, we can't forget his – damn it, hard to do that. Sorry, guys. His first time in the NFL was with – I was trying to highlight it. It's not going to let me, I guess. But it was with the Bills right here when they had Jim Kelly. And he wasn't part of that, but at least he saw, like, success. And then the Colts, he saw success because he was there as an area scout when they got Peyton Manning. So it's possible he had – I'm not going to say he was the reason why they drafted Peyton Manning, but he could have had something to do with that. And then, his time, you know, his last year with them was vice president of football operations in 2012, and that's when they drafted Andrew Luck. So to me, it's like, whoa, hold on a second. So you get a franchise quarterback, even though that was his last year before he went to be the GM for the Chargers. You get a franchise quarterback right here in 2012 with Andrew Luck. You get a franchise quarterback, even if he had a lower role in Peyton Manning. And then with the Chargers, obviously, they go and get Justin Herbert. So for me, I thought about it. I'm like, if me as a Raiders fan, if you told me in the last 25 years we could have had Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, or Justin Herbert, we'd be sitting pretty nice right about now, you know, with any of those three quarterbacks, at least with some playoff wins, if not a Super Bowl. So in all that time, the only one that won a Super Bowl with the Colts was Peyton Manning, obviously. But Andrew Luck was a good quarterback. You know, I know he dealt with some injuries when he got a little bit older and stuff after a while, but you know, that just something to me that kind of stood out. I was like, you know what, this guy might have a knack for some talent as far as like the quarterback position goes. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of my next thought. And then kind of last thought, I know a lot of people have, I'll pull this one up, is talking about the cap space, which it's a valid point. You know, and so if you look at the cap space of the Chargers and what they had, let me pull that up real quick. They're at like 45, million over the cap, which is a lot. So, let's be real. The Chargers went all in to try to win a Super Bowl. They did, and it didn't work out. So you could, I could see how someone could say, hey, he put the Chargers in cap hell. So you have, and the Chargers are going to have to do something this offseason, meaning the Chargers are probably going to have to get rid of Khalil Mack right here. I don't see how the Chargers keep Khalil Mack unless they restructure a lot of contracts. Joey Bosa, who's a good player, but he's constantly hurt, so the cap number for Khalil Mack, 38 million. But if they cut him pre-June, they'd save 23 mil. And Joey Bosa, if they cut him, they'd save like 14 mil. They're going to have to do something. Mike Williams, good wide receiver, but he's freaking eating up a lot of their cap space, and he's been hurt. Him and Mike, or Keelan Allen and Mike Williams. So, any of these 4 guys could be gone. I would expect to see 2 out of the 3, or at least two out of the 4 gone right here in their top like expenses, gone. So, and then the other ones, they're not getting rid of, Justin Herbert, but they gave this is the problem, guys. When you have a quarterback and you pay him that kind of money, the other big contracts you gave start taking in effect and you could have a problem with your team trying to get below the cap space, which is why sometimes I'm critical looking at some of these quarterbacks and what they're making, because it eats up a lot of your cap space. But I don't know. What do you guys think as far as the cap space? Because it is a valid point. The Raider fans that are upset, they're like, hey, they put him in cap hell, and so it's a fact, being 45 million over. I felt like they probably went all in to try to win a championship, and it didn't work out. But Afikasi, what are you thinking, bro?
Well, look, gee, that's a whole bunch of numbers there.
I know. Sorry.
I mean, it's not it's not a good look, but like at the same time, like you got to. I look at what you were highlighting before, that he's been around with teams in, whether it was as a scout or as their GM during like some of their when he was GM at the Chargers, they had some degree of success, but like he was around those glory days of the Chargers, the Colts and the glory days of the Bills. So that to me is something, and the fact that he's had experience at the roll up, instead of like what you highlighted before with McKenzie and Mayock being first time guys. Was that Ziegler's first time as GM as well?
Who's? Sorry,
Dave Ziegler.
Yeah, that was his first.
Okay, so having someone with experience rather than going with first-time guys. Mind you, I thought Reggie McKenzie did the best of what he could. I mean, remember when he came in, we were in salary cap hell, much worse than what you just saw with the Chargers, and we had little draft capital as well. So, there's context to that.
His first draft pick, I believe his very first draft pick was DJ Hayden, but he did get Khalil Mack and Derek Carr. But yeah,
didn't we? He was around when we in 2012. I think that was his first year.
I think so, yeah. But I think his very first pick was DJ Hayden.
Isn't that his first rounder?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Well, whatever the case may be.
But no, anyway, I hear you. I mean, you're right. Yeah. He did good. We were in cap hell. I agree. We were in cap hell,
and we had the structure for a lot of our contracts was very poor. We were in a very bad state, stemming from some of the contracts that RIP to the Godfather was handing out, like, you know what I mean? So we were still paying for that by then. Right. But, back to Tom, I forgot his name. Was it Telesco?
Yeah.
Telesco, yeah.
Telesco, yeah. I'm gonna give him a chance and ride it out with him. Like, yeah, let's just see what he can do. I'm just happy that we got AP at the top. And my faith in him is bigger and better than what it's been with any coach that I've been a part of since my time as a Raider fan has started. So
right, my main thing, I guess, I would say, is I just hope him and Antonio Pierce gel well together. But that'd be my main gripe, or concern. But on 6, what are you thinking about the cap space situation that the Tom Telesco, the Chargers former general manager, now our general manager, kind of put the Chargers in?
No, I actually have one of my good buddies from work. He's a Chargers fan. I've been knowing this guy for 3 years now. So, you know what I mean? I called him up after this happened and shit. And he said one of the main things that the reason they're in the way they are is just because they try to win a Super Bowl and shit. You know what I mean? The last couple of years when Herbert was still under his rookie year till last year when they gave him that big contract extension. You know what I mean? But the thing is, too, that he has built this great Chargers team. You know what I mean? It's not the fault that the son of the son of the owner wanted to keep the head coach, even though he wanted to fire him 2 years ago. You know what I mean? That's what my Chargers friend said. So it's a little interesting thought. You know what I mean? That he wanted to get rid of the idiot, but the owner's son overruled them and shit. So hopefully here he can have final say over the roster and shit. You know what I mean? Not like the other GMs had to listen to the head coach.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And I mean, when you guys think about it, man, it's like, I don't know. Do you think how much weight should we put in the fact that his starting in his career was with the Jim Kelly, you know, again, not saying he had anything to do with that, but at least he saw greatness, right? And then he was
Right.
there. Peyton Manning came on, there for like his president operations when Andrew Luck was drafted, and then he got Justin Herbert. To me, I'm not saying this is correct, but to me, I just feel like I'm like, whoa, maybe this dude has a knack to be able to see good quarterback talent. You know what I mean? Because I look at all three of those quarterbacks. Those are some pretty damn good guys that he had some sort of ties to within those organizations. You know what I mean? But do you think I'm looking too much into it, or what do you think, Afikasi?
Well, maybe with the Andrew Luck pick, I mean, like they had the number 1 pick that year, and I mean, I remember that year's draft. Andrew Luck was touted to be the the biggest generational talent quarterback since Peyton Manning. You know what I mean? So, I guess if you want to credit him, like any GM who would have the number 1 pick at that time would have picked Andrew Luck. So
true, yeah, it's a good point. No, yeah.
It's like I said, I do like that he's been a part of some degree of success, especially with the Colts and the Bills, as you highlighted before, and I just said it before as well. So maybe I'm kind of saying the same thing, but I like that. And like I said, whether we like to admit it or not, the Chargers have had a little bit more success, especially with the draft, than what we've had in the last, since 2013 when he was GM. So maybe having a more experienced guy at the helm isn't such a bad thing. So I'm gonna give him a chance. Hopefully we can retain Champ Kelly. Like I said, it'd be nice to have him, AP, who have a great chemistry together, can work together with Telesco, and we can do some things. Let them cook in the off season. Hopefully we can have a roster which we can build upon year by year. And I mean, I'm not expecting Super Bowl next year. You know what I mean? Like, let's just be realistic. Like, let's plug our holes as best we can and wait for these players to develop. Like, I'm just looking for progression next year. If we can make the playoffs, fantastic. I'm looking more at 2025 playoffs, and then hopefully we can be a consistent playoff team, maybe even contending for a Super Bowl. But one step at a time. It starts with the head coach, GM. If we can retain our defensive coordinator, and have we hired an offensive coordinator yet?
No. Not yet. No,
not yet. So, yeah. We're still in wait and see mode, right?
Yeah. Yep. What about you, Aunt Six? What do you think about kind of some of that quarterbacks he's been part of? Anything you want to say on that, bro?
Yeah, I think for me, the most impressive thing was Justin Herbert. You know what I mean? Him drafting him, because he was the 3rd best quarterback coming out of the draft class. If you remember, with Burrow, Tua, and then him. You know what I mean? And everybody didn't really like Herbert because of the system he was coming out of Oregon, because there was a lot of checkdowns and shit. A lot of spread and checkdowns. You know what I mean? It wasn't really a pro-style offense and shit. That's why a lot of people were trying to stay away from Herbert. And he's seen something in them and shit to draft him that high. And look how he's turned out. You know what I mean? He's the 2nd best quarterback in our division right now, hands down. You know what I mean? So I do give him a lot of props in that. And, he was there for his development as well. So he does know what a franchise quarterback looks like. You know what I mean? And let's hope he brings that to the Raiders.
So I agree. I like it. Love it. All right. So here's my thinking. I'm calling this the 3-headed monster, which is, I feel like the Raiders have a good opportunity to possibly make a Super Bowl run, like you were saying, Afikasi. Next year is probably a little ambitious, but maybe the year after. And I look at some of these contracts, some of these guys, like I look at, Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers, and I feel like, with these guys, at the helm for wide receiver position, I'm not saying they're going to be Jerry Rice, Tim Brown, but it's like kind of a good, wide receiver 1-2 punch that could help us get to the promised land. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of like some of the things this team has in place. We all know we need offensive line, and some different things like that. But I feel like this team is a lot closer than, maybe some of us give credit for. Not saying you guys, but I just mean, and the big question mark is obviously the quarterback position. Okay. Now, whether we draft somebody high, move up, or we get a veteran or whatever route we go, I want to pull this up real quick to get you guys kind of thoughts on this. So this is going to be the Raiders cap space here, guys, for this next year. And these numbers are going to change with 36 million going into 2024. But the main thing I want to show you guys is this right here, because I know there's been talks about Devontae Adams and stuff like that. I'm not saying I want to trade him, but I just want to show you guys this. Right now, it's like at 25 million. Okay. because that's the big one that stands out to me as of right now, as far as dollars, in the Raiders, which I think has an effect on if you get a quarterback or not, or which quarterback. And then the 2025 one right here. Make sure. Okay, just want to double check, make sure you guys can see it. All right. 2025 one right here, it jumps up to 44 mil. So that's a lot to digest starting in 2025. So 2025, we're going to have a big number for Devontae Adams. Now we can restructure that to some degree, but all restructuring means usually is like to backload the contract. So let's say we do a couple different scenarios or explore a couple different things, which is one, people want Justin Fields. You'd have Fields, no matter what you spend to draft pick to get him or whatever, you'd have him for a 1-year rental, and then you got to figure out how to pay him. Okay. So that's one of the things, I'm looking at or like contemplating, like the best situation for the Raiders, or you draft a guy. And if you draft a guy, then they may not be ready to go on a Super Bowl run till year 2 or 3. It's usually, we might be able to make the playoffs. You might hit lightning in a bottle like the Texans did with CJ Stroud. But when you kind of look at Devontae Adams and some of these other guys on our team, I'm not going to go over all of them right now, but do you guys think we should be more of a win now mode and kind of go all in? Or do you think we should try to, draft somebody and have them maybe like a 2 to 4 year plan or something like that, as opposed to like a 1 to 3 year plan? Because like, to me, I just look at it, if you get a veteran like Justin Fields, it might give you a better chance. And you're in a shorter time frame, like a 1 to 3 year, kind of run to make a Super Bowl run. And if you draft a guy, you might be in a more of like a 2 to 4 year kind of plan. But any thoughts on that, Afikasi?
I would go. Me personally, I'm looking at a 2-year plan. You know what I mean? Like,
okay,
build through the draft, keep pieces around that's going to keep us competitive, and hopefully, like, it's not outside of the realm of possibility of catching lightning in the bottle, like you said. You know what I mean? Like, teams find these players somehow, some way. Why can't it be us for a change? And maybe that's where Telesco can show his wares. I mean, you were highlighting some of the picks that he's had with the guys at quarterback. And if we're going to go that route, like if it's not Aiden O'Connell, Aiden O'Connell's still going to have his chance to prove that he's our guy moving forward for the long term as our starter and possibly franchise quarterback. But I would like to see some competition. Ideally, I'd like to see someone drafted. I'm not on the Justin Fields train. I wouldn't mind him per se as a veteran guy if we bring him in, but I'm not paying the house for him. I'm not. Some people are talking about trading a 1-2 like first round or a second round. Nah, F that. I'm not down with that. I'd rather we just draft someone and roll with Aiden O'Connell and the said draft pick and see who the best guy is. But in regards to Devontae Adams, like, for me personally, like he's still. He might be on the downside. Like, I don't know. Like, he had a little bit of a down, but he's still one of the premier wide receivers in the league, one of the best in the game. And I don't like letting go of talent like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's only going to make if we got a young quarterback, whether it's Aiden O'Connell or said draft pick, it's going to help them with their development tremendously. Having a guy of that caliber on one side, and Jacoby Myers is becoming a good enough player in his own right. Exceeded my expectations last year. We've got some weapons. Hopefully we can see more development from Michael Mayer. And whatever we do at running back the position, that's going to be a point of interest too. Is Josh Jacobs going to come back, or we're going to ride off into the sunset with Zamir White, who managed to prove the critiques, including myself, wrong, so to say. Like, he did some things, like, good for him. Like, is he the guy moving forward? Time will tell. Or do we draft another running back to bring competition? So there's a lot of quarterbacks, but I'm in a 2-year plan at the very least kind of mode. If we can be more competitive, or if we can start winning playoff games or whatever before that, fantastic.
All right, I like it. On 6, what you got, bro?
I think for me personally, it all depends on what we do at the quarterback position. If we're able to get draft a rookie quarterback, you know what I mean? We're able to keep Devontae Adams at that high number because he is the quarterback. It's going to be a rookie contract. But if you bring in the veteran like Justin Fields, he's in the last year of his deal. And then you really want to pay Justin Fields that $45 million because that's what average quarterback's going to cost. You know what I mean? In my opinion, Justin Fields is not worth $45 million. You know what I mean? As much as everybody says, this is running for a year, and I'm not about to give up a draft pick in the second or third round for Justin Fields and only have him for 1 year and then let him walk in free agency. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, that's why the Bears are going to draft Caleb Williams at number 1, because they're going to have that reset at the quarterback position. You know what I mean? With that rookie quarterback contract. So that's going to be very valuable. You know what I mean? So I really want the Raiders to draft a quarterback. You know what I mean? Because I'm tired of bringing in the veteran guys, this and that. You know what I mean? Where's the last time we actually drafted a quarterback in the first round? It was Jamarcus Russell. I know it didn't work out. You know what I mean? You can't hold that against us. You know what I mean? Or just say Daniels, we're not going to draft him from LSU because, you know what I mean, Jamarcus Russell. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, the guy, Jalen Daniels, was with Antonio Brown over there at Arizona State before he transferred to LSU. You know what I mean? And they had a pretty stacked team. And who was out? I was over there. Jack Jones was out there too. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean. They're all. He knows them all. You know what I mean? That's why I think it was another great get to get AP as head coach, because he knows a lot of these kids are coming out in the draft personally. You know what I mean? Because he knows them. He's been trying to recruit them to go to Arizona State. You know what I mean? Before he came to the NFL. You know what I mean? So that's another thing that just another piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, there's some quarterbacks I like Jaden Daniels. I mean, I don't know. I'm like right now, like I'm not set one way or the other. Like my brain, I fight with myself on like some of these directions we could go. I just feel like with Davante Adams, like I love Davante Adams. I don't want to get rid of him. But I'll be honest, at the same time, I felt like there's times where he wasn't running at his full speed. Some of those throws Aiden O'Connell threw, and people going to hate on me. I get it. But like, it wasn't the best throw by Aiden O'Connell, but Davante Adams has another gear. Like I've seen him. He has another gear of speed, and he wasn't always showing that full speed that he can do. So I felt like at times there was, and Davante Adams missed some crucial catches. And I know he's not perfect. No one's perfect. I don't expect that. The fact that he's making, I felt like we should have got a little bit more production out of him, even with a rookie quarterback and some of the throws that weren't the best. There was just a few times that really upset me, but there's other times where I'm really happy too. But I do definitely think we can win a championship with Davante Adams. But if we're going to keep him, we got to figure out a way to make the quarterback, like you said, if we get Justin Fields, right, maybe that's the best win now type of player. But he's not worth 40 plus mil, in my opinion. He's not worth 45 plus mil. And that's what you're right. That's what he's going to want, even if he's not worth it. Look at all these guys. I mean, Daniel Jones for the Giants, dude, that guy, I forget what his contract was, but good Lord, the Giants should never have given that dude a contract. I wasn't a fan of Daniel Jones. I like Derek Carr, but he's not worth 37 mil. Dak Prescott, that's questionable if he's worth the contract he's making. So there's quarterbacks all over the NFL that are making, in my opinion, way too much money versus their talent. And I say that because it's such a percentage of the cap space, it makes it real tough to get some of that other talent you need on your team. So I just feel like if we're going to go the rookie route, we might be in a more 2 to 3 year window. And then I look at Davante Adams' contract and I'm like, I don't know if that matches up with what he's wanting and then what it's going to take for us to get where we want. And that means if you're going to get rid of Davante Adams, you better start looking for a replacement, like in the draft, someone that can at least learn the ropes. And again, I want to keep Davante Adams, but when I look at this and I try to make sense of the best thing for the Raiders, I think scheme has a lot to do with it. My crazy thought, because I don't know if you guys know, you probably do, but I'm a big Hendon Hooker fan, and he's a backup on the Lions, and the Lions have Jared Goff, who's only got one more year before he's going to need a contract. And so the Lions have a tough decision to make. Are they going to keep, Jared Goff and give him an extension, or are they going to get rid of him? And they'd be crazy to get rid of him, at this point. Maybe next year we'll see. But, if he still ends up doing good, they give him a contract. Well, then there's really no point for them to have Hendon Hooker. Like I'm at a point where I'm like, well, you trade Aiden O'Connell to the Lions, maybe a 3rd or 4th round draft pick, you get Hendon Hooker, and then you have a mobile style quarterback. And then just hear me out. And then no matter who you draft, whether it's, Jaden Daniels, or I'm not saying we're going to get a Caleb Williams, but any mobile style quarterback, or if you got a Justin Fields, at least your backup is got that same skill set to be a mobile quarterback. Right now, here's Raiders game plan. Most of us Raider fans and what people are thinking, go get a mobile quarterback. I'm not saying he has to be a Justin Fields type where he's running too much, but if we're going to go mobile and then you have a pocket passer, these schemes do not work. It's like two polar opposites, where if the starter gets hurt and our mobile quarterback, whoever we draft or get, then the backup, the scheme is so far fetched from what we were initially doing. You got to almost switch up the whole playbook, and possibly what the offensive line is doing. So yeah, I like Aiden O'Connell. I think he can still be a starter in the NFL, but it doesn't make sense if we're going to have a pocket passer quarterback and then go the mobile style. They're two completely split styles of play. And this is my problem with McDaniels. And when he drafted a quarterback, instead of getting Hendon Hooker, is he drafted a pocket passer and not a newer style mobile quarterback, which now puts us in a scheme predicament for a backup. And I don't think Aiden O'Connell fits in that picture. You might be able to do it. I know some people say you can do it. I don't believe you should do it that way. I think whoever your starter is, the backup should have a skill set at least somewhat similar to that. But any thoughts on that, Afakasi, man?
Well, just real quick, you were talking about Adams and that. Like, I think a lot of the criticism stems from that. I mean, his expectations is very high, as it should be, because he's one of the elite wide receivers in the game. With that said,
we're paying him a lot of money. I mean, we're paying.
We are, but hear me out. Like, at the same time, like, if you think about it, he still had a very good year by the numbers. Like, yeah, he made some mistakes, but he was my offensive MVP. I mean, who else had a better year than what he had when you think about it? Yeah. Think about it.
I mean, yeah. But
he's still a great player. Like I said, I think that the criticism stems from our high expectations of the guy, as they should be, but he's still a great player with a lot to give. And until we see otherwise, in my opinion, he is the one of, if not the core piece on the offensive side of the ball. And I don't like to let go of players like that when it's not necessary. I mean, we still have a lot of money to play around with. We still have a lot of draft capital. So,
well, like right here's one where, and this is why, I have more questions than answers, but like Kirk Cousins, I'm not saying I like Kirk Cousins. I actually thought he wasn't worth his contract for most of his career, but I thought he turned it up this last year before he got hurt. And so if you're going to keep Aiden O'Connell, then maybe you go get a guy like Kirk Cousins, right? Those guys have a similar skill set. You can scheme to both of those guys, right? And if you're trying to be in a win now mode, right, that shorter time frame, maybe a guy like Kirk Cousins is the guy, And again, I'm not saying I want him or that's the best thing. It's just I see there's a lot of conflicting things, and the guy at the helm here has to get this shit right. And let's not forget, this is a guy that was part of regime that cut Peyton Manning and also cut Phillip Rivers. So he's got no problem cutting ties, at least from his franchise quarterbacks or with their teams a long time that were really successful guys. You know what I mean? So he'll give the wax to some guys. He cut Peyton Manning, and or he was there to cut during that time frame, and then he also cut Phillip Rivers.
Right. I guess time will tell with all these moves, but we're still in the middle of getting our front office sorted. And for me, the next move is retain PG at all costs. We have to retain him somehow, some way, whatever means necessary. Just keep him in the door. Don't let him go. If some other team comes out of he's already had head coaching jobs been put on offer, I believe, by the Seattle Seahawks and maybe some other teams. But if there's a way we can keep him in the door, we have to do it. I mean, to do what he did with the defense last year, with a defense that wasn't a high price defense, and they're young. We invested a lot in this year's draft, but the draft picks before that, we had the third year guys who managed to come to fruition, like Diablo, Hobbs, Morrig, Kuntz. But with all things considered, I think he did a fantastic job. And this is coming from a guy who I was the loudest critique in the room after last season. I was critical of Patrick Graham, being that there was a lot of hype with him coming in with his first season with us, and that he was the Lord and Savior of our defense. Hallelujah. A lot of people were saying that before the year, and I wasn't impressed. But I'm happy to say I was wrong. He proved me very, very wrong. And I'm now a true believer in the guy. And we got to find a way. Somehow, some way, we got to keep him in the door by any means necessary.
I agree. I was ready to give Patrick Graham the axe too, so I was wrong as well, brother. I was right there with you, man. So, I think a lot of us were probably wanting Patrick Graham to get the axe, and he turned it around, man. I mean, I
wasn't asking for him to get the axe, but it was just I wasn't impressed. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
he proved me wrong.
But yeah, no, they did great. But any thoughts you got on that on 6?
Yeah, I think with me, I completely agree with you about our quarterback and our backup having the same skill set. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it all depends on what offensive coordinator we get and what kind of system they want to get. You know what I mean? If we get a offensive coordinator that wants to run a West Coast system, we're gonna have a pocket passer. You know what I mean? But if we can get a quarterback, offensive coordinator like King Kingsbury in here, he's gonna have a more mobile quarterback, and that's what worries me. If he comes in here, what is he gonna do with Aiden? You know what I mean? Does Aiden really fit his system? I don't think he does. So now we're gonna need 2 quarterbacks now. You know what I mean? We're gonna need a starting quarterback that's mobile and a backup. You know what I mean? So it all depends. What comes down what offensive coordinator we're gonna hire and what system they're gonna run.
That's why I explored at least the idea. I know people are gonna say I'm crazy about trying to trade for Hendon Hooker. We should have drafted him last year. The Lions picked 2 picks before us. We got Byron Young, who didn't play at all this year. You know what I mean? And we could have leveraged some draft capital to move up and get Hendon Hooker. We wouldn't even be in this predicament. But that's because McDaniels in his system, it wasn't for a mobile quarterback. It's for a pocket passer style. You know what I mean? And so, but again, I think Aiden O'Connell could potentially be a starter. Like I really believe that. But he's got some stuff he's got to work on. He's got to work on lower body strength, like faster footwork, and he's got to work on his eyes, not staring down wide receivers. I'm not saying I want him to be our starter. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, kind of what you said on 6. I agree, man, that like I think it's too conflicting of styles and skill sets to have a mobile quarterback and then Aiden O'Connell, where it's like, to me, it's like, oh, well, if the Lions are good, we'll give him a good backup, Aiden O'Connell, who's a lot closer to Jared Goff's skill set than Hendon Hooker. We'll take Hendon Hooker. We'll give you a 3rd round, 4th round pick or something. And they're making out like, they'd be making out damn good. Most people call me crazy for doing that kind of thing. But I truly believe that Hendon Hooker, even still, is the 2nd best quarterback out of this last draft. I said that before the draft even began. I don't know if you guys followed my draft video. I went nuts when the Raiders didn't get in.
I think I saw that. But just when you're talking about like with pocket passes and having a scrambling quarterback or more mobile quarterback as the 1A, 1B options or whatever it may be. When you think about it, like, I don't know, I just had a bit of an epiphany. Remember we were just talking about Andrew Luck, the year Washington drafted with the number 2 pick, Robert Griffin III.
They did, yeah.
That same draft class, who did they draft?
Who?
I said that same draft class, same draft year, Washington.
I know.
Oh,
who did they draft?
Kirk Cousins? Was it Kirk Cousins?
Yes, they drafted them both in the same year, and they are. Forgive me if I'm wrong. They have totally different skill sets.
No, you're right.
So,
yeah,
and it actually worked out. You know what I mean? Because Griffin, in my opinion, was on his way to being the next big thing until he got hurt in that playoff game, and that just pretty much derailed his career. They had a backup option in Kirk Cousins, and he's actually turned out to. I mean, he's not one of the premier quarterbacks in the league, but he's not a scrub. So,
yeah,
just saying.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a good point. I mean, and teams have done it. I mean, you just have to have an offensive coordinator that can make that transition or whatever. Probably took him maybe a couple of years to start like really coming on the scene there and I guess that was Washington Redskin days, but yeah, Raider way. Shout out to all the chat. He said, "You like that?
You like that? Yeah, I remember. That was his breakout game with the Washington Redskins, wasn't it?
It was one of them, probably. I think, yeah.
I believe that was the second year he was in the league when Griffin was hurt, and then he came in and was actually able to do some things. And I think after one of their victories, he was walking through the tunnel. Yeah. We all seen the footage.
But yeah, I mean, it could work. I'm just exploring, different ideas I've been contemplating in my head, where I'm like, man, part of it is like, it's like a lost love, like Hendon Hooker, and then the other part of it is I just really worry that like, maybe we didn't draft the right guy for the newer style quarterbacks, and because it does worry me, you know what I mean? If we're going mobile, I just think we got to have a good game plan, and I just feel like personally it'd be nice to have a scheme where you have 1A, 1B, and they're not too far off. Now I just feel like we're 1A and we're 4B. We're like 4 places off of the skill sets, to be able to kind of scheme appropriately. So,
we've only got one quarterback on our team that's going to be around next year.
Say again?
There's no way. We've only got one quarterback. Sorry to interrupt you. We've only got one quarterback in the room that's going to be here next year. We're not keeping Garoppolo, and we sure as hell ain't keeping. I forgot his name. What's the other scrub? Brian Hoyer. So we don't even have another option at the moment. So it's going to happen. We're going to get someone in the free agency or the draft. It's just a matter of which route we take or who.
Well, and if neither of those guys are going to be around, we might have to get a veteran quarterback too to help some of these younger guys, kind of deal.
Right.
So, but I agree. I don't want Hoyer and Jimmy G. I don't know. It doesn't. Yeah, nothing excites me about Jimmy G. Past 20 yards, you're like scratching your head, wondering if he's even be able to get to 25 or 30 yards. Kind of deal.
Can't
So.
even get past 10 yards some of these games, man. I can't believe Josh McDaniels signed this guy. You go from wanting Tom Brady and shit, ended up fucking with Big Shirley out the club and shit, you know what I mean? It's just a little ridiculous. It just thank God that Mark Davis fired him, dude, because if he would have been there, we would have been go back for more longer and shit. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous.
Man.
Shout out to all the fucking content creators that were fucking trying to shove Josh McDaniels down our throats and shit, and we're fucking this shit. You know what I mean? That shit fucking annoying. And now they were saying, "Oh, we need to hire Jim Harbaugh," and now the AP's there. No, I wanted AP the whole time. Like, get out of here, you fucking flip flops. Just
a lot of them were all over Brady's nuts last year in the offseason, and when they heard that Brady might want, a different coach than AP, they lost their mind. You know what I mean? Like screw Tom Brady. And I'm like, dude, this guy's never been a Raider. He's not a minority of the Raiders. Why does Tom Brady's opinion even freaking matter? And if Tom Brady or anybody that told Mark Davis gave Mark Davis advice to hire Josh McDaniels, Mark Davis should not listen to that person. It's like getting marital advice from somebody that's been divorced 3 or 4 times. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's necessarily Tom Brady's been wrong 3 or 4 times. I'm just saying go to people that have like their opinion actually matters, not just somebody because they got a big name or whatever. Tom Brady's never been a general manager. And there's things are a lot different now than it used to be. So, to me, it's like even before, Tom Brady's opinion should not have fucking mattered. You know what I mean? Even if he wants to be a minority of this team.
Look, at the end of the day, though, like, has anybody actually heard him say that? Or is this just dirt sheets talking?
I mean, it's just rumors.
You know what I mean? Like,
dirt
sheets will say this and that. Like, the same dirt sheets are saying that it's imminent now that we're going to be signing Jim Harbaugh. You know what I mean? Like, look, I haven't been. Well, I respect his greatness. Like, once upon a time when he was with the Patriots, I hated him just as much as anyone else. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, do we know that it's fact? We don't. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying.
Well, hopefully Mark Davis has learned from his lessons. I think with some of the hires, I mean, he listened to us or himself or whatever to hire Antonio Pierce, right? And then, he decided to not go with a rookie GM, which is something different. It is. What he did is different than what he did in the past, what we've done in the past. So, hopefully it works out and we'll see, man. Right. So
the more I'm spitballing about it and the more I'm thinking about it in depth, like I do like it. I do like the hire. Like, I don't love it, but I like it more and more that we get more in depth about like what his experience and credentials and what he can bring to the table. But like I keep saying, I'm just happy that we managed to keep Antonio Pierce in the door, and I just want PG to stay by any means necessary.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And then whoever's our offensive coordinator, whether it's Kingsbury or someone else, they can do their thing and hopefully get more production out of our offense than those last numpties that we had in the door, right?
Yeah. Well, I think these guys are going to be motivated, ready to play. You know what I mean? Like I don't doubt that. And I think that's step one. We know the newer society and some of this, some of these guys get wanting handouts and back rubs before they're motivated. I think having a coach that can inspire and motivate is almost more important than the X's and O's. I really do. It sounds crazy to some people, but if you can have somebody that can inspire people, they should all be self-motivated. I get it, but he can relate to them, and I think he can get that extra oomph out of these guys. And I think we can figure out the X's and O's and all the other stuff, in the offseason and whatnot. But
we'll take the money out of the equation. You know what I mean? Like, we've all been at workplaces or played in team sports, or in your case, been in the army where we've had leadership,
right?
And we've had bad leadership and we've had good leadership.
Right.
And to me, the best leaders have always been the people who bring out the best of me and make me feel like I can punch my way through a friggin' wall. You know what I mean? Like, I will, just lead the way and I'll charge. You know what I'm saying? And that to me is Antonio Pierce. And it's the glaring opposite to what Josh McDaniels, the Mr. offensive guru, the X's and O's guy, who couldn't fight, who couldn't motivate anybody to fight their way out of a wet paper bag, and was so unlikable, so unapproachable. You know what I mean? The bipolar opposite of Antonio Pierce. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's good that we've got a guy like that that's I'll lead and everyone will follow, so to say.
I didn't want to do this to you guys, but I'm going to play a 15-second video. You tell me if he's telling the truth.
First question from a fan or PSL holder. The tuck rule play.
Yep.
Was it a fumble? And keep up the great work, Coach.
No question. It was a fumble. Does that have to say anything else?
That's it. He's got the Raider gear on.
What a schmuck. I hate that guy. That was 15 seconds too long that you played of him talking.
First question from a fan or PSL holder. The tuck rule play.
Yep.
Was it a fumble? And keep up the great work, Coach.
No question. It was a fumble. Does that have to say anything else?
That's it. He's got the Raider gear on.
Just crawl under a rock and don't come back.
Dude, when that interview happened in real time, I rewatched that thing probably at least 5 times, maybe 10. And every time, dude, I could feel like my heart pounding faster and faster. My blood started boiling. I'm like, I'm going to go fucking knock somebody out. Because, like, I could tell he was full of shit right then and there. That was probably the thing, like, the first red flag to me that really set me off. I'm like, you know, because, like, yeah, that was the second time that he got asked about the tuck game. And in the first press conference, he said something about it. And I don't want to rehash McDaniels. I do want to move on. But I'm just going to leave it simply that, you know, to me, the tuck game had a very impactful, it was a very, like, fucked up moment in my life, you know, as well as all of us in Raider Nation. And so when he made a joke of it, it really, like, set me off the wrong way. And I kept rewatching it to make sure I'm not crazy. But I'm glad you guys, like, rewatching it, you feel the same way that I felt when I kept rewatching it.
I'd puke, just like Jason Marshall's emoji. But, you know, there was a litany of red flags, but another one for me, like maybe a minute one. But, hey, Josh, what's your favorite food? Oh, yeah, I like Boston Scrod.
Right away. I made that just for you guys, that clip.
Boston Scrod.
Scrod, yeah.
Shay.
He scrodded the Raiders, all right. He scrodded the Raiders
Right.
with Jimmy G. Oh, man, but it's all good. Hey, we're moving
You
forward.
scrod your ass back to fucking New England.
We're moving forward. We got a lot of bright things to look forward to. I'm going to be a lot more positive this offseason because last offseason, I just, I wasn't a good person to be around. You know what I mean? And I knew that. And so I tried not to make too many videos, but man, I was heated. But I'm happy, man. I'm excited. I think we've made some of the right decisions. We got another big one coming up. That's the quarterback position. That's why I'm calling it the 3-headed monster: offensive coordinator, scheme, quarterback. We got to figure those 3 things out. If we figure out, like, that's the equation, like the question, right? If we figure those 3 things out, I think we'll be sitting good. They fuck it up, it's going to set us back for years. Let's just be real. I don't want to venture down the negative path, but if we mess it up, it's going to set us back. No matter who it is, whether you want Justin Fields, you want a veteran, you want to get Jaden Daniels, if it ends up not working out, it's going to set us back for a few years, you know?
I have all the confidence in AP. You know, he might not get us there straight away. If he does, fantastic. But give him time. I'd put my money on it that he'll get us there. We just got to give him time.
Yep.
He is the guy. He's the chosen one for me.
No,
like
he is. Especially, too, I don't understand why people, like, the biggest thing is that I knew AP was the right man for the job. Do we all remember what happened the first time we played the Chargers last year? It was Aiden O'Connell's first start. Khalil Mack went off against us. I think he had like 6 sacks in the game. You know what I mean? And what happened when we faced them again with AP and shit? You know what I mean? It's like night and day. And the other reason I know AP was the right man for the job, we did not lead the league in penalty this year. You know what I mean? What's the last time the Raiders not been a penalized team? You know what I mean? Just those.
We're usually the dead opposite, right? The 180 opposite, all the way at the bottom with a bullet.
Even when we were Josh McDaniels, we were one of the worst penalized teams and shit. You know what I mean? And that's the other thing that drives me crazy. Now there's some content creators saying, "Oh yeah, AP's too cocky for me. I don't want him as our head coach." Well, what do you want? A Josh McDaniels kind of guy that doesn't motivate you or doesn't put you in the best position to win? It's just funny now that coming out that he didn't even change none of the playbook or anything. He just ran the same system with Aiden O'Connell making his first career start. Like, why wouldn't you put your players in the best position to succeed. No, because you think your system is the greatest thing ever known to mankind. You know what I mean? Just because you had the greatest quarterback, you know what I mean, that ran your system. You know what I mean? And that's the only reason you have a name and shit.
But some of these guys are snorting McDaniels till their death, and they won't admit they are wrong. Let alone they got their master. They got their master's degree at mattress firm. So take that for what it's worth. But yeah. All right. So some guys in the chat here. I don't know if you guys want to go over anything. The chat was saying I tried to scroll back up or any other topics you guys want to talk about. I think we kind of hit the meat and potatoes. Rebel was saying, shout out to you, said I don't know what to think about this GM hire. Feel 50-50 about AP. Hope it works like I hope and doesn't blow up in our faces. Anything you guys want to say on that?
Well, we touched up on that already. I mean,
yeah, I know. I scrolled way back.
I do like he has a degree of experience and success. So,
Jason Marshall,
despite the salary cap issues with the Chargers, let's give him a chance.
Yeah,
I think there's more positives.
I feel the same way. And then Jason Marshall said, got a feeling Zach Robinson will be offensive coordinator 5 years under McVay offense. Was Telesco's favorite until Keenan Allen came available as OC. Any thoughts on that? I think that's the quarterback coach for the Rams, I believe, Zach Robinson.
Okay, I got to be honest. I don't watch too much Rams football, so I can't comment on that.
No, I mean I don't know a whole lot about him. I've heard some talks about him. I just want like an offensive coordinator that's, I don't know, can either change on the fly or we just get more out of our offensive coordinator than we've gotten in the past. And I was a big John Gruden fan, but even some of the John Gruden plays were very questionable at times, too conservative in my opinion. But shout out to you, Mark Torres, said this is the most bizarre hiring process for a head coach and GM hiring. Head coach before a general manager, having Champ sit on the couch coaching interviews, then giving GM to Telesco. You're right. That part is kind of a stab in the back to have, because I know Champ Kelly was there for all the coaching interviews, and then he didn't get the general manager job. But you guys have anything you want to say on that comment from Mark Torres? That's a good comment. Thanks, bro.
The more I kind of think about it, I think Pierce had the job before. They were just going through the process and doing their due diligence to follow protocol. Like you got to interview this many guys, and you got to do this and the third before you can make it official that you make a hiring, or so to say. So, maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe I'm off. I'm not sure, but look, we've got our GM now. Let's give him a chance. Give him a chance to cook. See what he does.
Yeah.
Were you the way if he was sitting in the interviews, I think he must have okayed or must have liked what he heard from Telesco or whatever his name is. You know what I mean? Because if he didn't, you know what I mean, I don't think he would have fucking gave him a good review. And anyway, he's still our assistant GM. You know what I mean? So to further notice, so that's
he's under contract for one more year. So yeah, that's a good point. Then Otis, shout out to you, big dog. He said, "Are we drafting a QB or is O'Connell the starter? We bringing in one?" I mean, my thoughts on O'Connell, I think he's a good quarterback, but you have to scheme for a pocket passer, first of all is really offensive line. You got to bolster that offensive line, as we all know, extremely well. And then you have to have an offensive coordinator that's more of a pocket passer style. So I'm not saying O'Connell can't be the guy, but the only way I would even want to consider it besides those two things has to work out would be O'Connell getting his footwork faster. Like I've said it before, but you look at Peyton Manning, he would do the ladder drills in the offseason. Peyton Manning wasn't a fast guy, but he did a lot of footwork drills, and then he focused on his timing, meaning he wouldn't stare down wide receivers like Derek Carr did and like Aiden O'Connell did. He would look this way, and then he'd pass that way at the very last millisecond. And so only if O'Connell can maybe get some coaching from Peyton Manning or go to his quarterback camp, but gain those two skills, traits, in my opinion, the eyes and the footwork.
Right. With O'Connell, I'm not super sold that he's our guy, franchise quarterback. I mean, I'm still willing to give him a chance and see what he does. And with that said, we got to remember he's a 4th round rookie. Was it 4th round or 5th round?
4th round, but
fourth round, whatever it may be. He wasn't right. He wasn't expected to start this year. It was by circumstance he started, and for the most part, I think he did a decent enough job, and he has time to progress. I mean, he's only had 1 year with as a rookie, so you got to give him a chance. But like, ideally, I do want to see a swing for the fences. Let's see if we can swing at one of these quarterbacks in the upcoming draft. Hopefully, ideally early. See what happens. But if we get a free agent and get them to compete with Aiden O'Connell, whatever, we'll have to wait and see.
Mark Cabone said, we still need, shout out to you, man. He said, still need a president of football ops. So Mark doesn't need to put together these panels with too many people in the kitchen. And that's a good point. That's something I thought about, guys. People are going to call me crazy for what I'm going to say right here on kind of maybe not exactly what you're saying, but something I thought about. Like, look, Mark Davis has been doing this for like 10 years. He had his plate full with a stadium, right? He couldn't probably have his hand in as much involvement with the Raiders through the transition, the move from Oakland to Vegas and stuff like that. But I feel like, I'm not saying Mark Davis needs to be a Jerry Jones type owner, but I just feel like he's been doing this long enough where he doesn't need to have so many people in his ear. He needs to do what he knows is best for the franchise. And in my opinion, that was first hire Antonio Pierce or, the general manager, but, get it right with the coach. And then, I kind of like that he went a different direction with the general manager. But, sometimes I feel like, Mark almost doesn't give himself any credit. He's like, people always say, well, Mark said, and he did say it, but they're like, Mark Davis said he doesn't know much about football and doesn't know football. He's going to get guys in place to run the organization. But here's the thing. That hasn't fucking worked, right? Like, you've brought guys in and it hasn't worked. So maybe he should take more of a role. And I'm not saying to be a Jerry Jones, but at least more of a role, like hold these guys accountable. Hey, you're drafting this guy. At least ask questions. Ask these guys questions. I don't care if it's the GM or the coach or both, but Mark Davis should be like, hey, what guy are you liking? Why do you want to draft him? What do you see in him? What's the long-term plan? How long is it going to take for him to be playoff ready? Like, those are, in my opinion, like questions. And I'm not saying he doesn't ask them. We don't know. I don't know. But if he's not asking them and he's just leaving it up to everybody to run the Raiders, I think that's wrong. I think Mark Davis should at least have a little bit bigger role in what the fuck's going on here, because whatever's been going on in the past, that shit ain't been working. But that's just kind of where I'm at. You guys got anything you want to say to Mark Carbone's comment there?
Right. Well, he is learning his lessons along the way. I mean, look what happened with halfway through the season. Fired McDaniels, fired Ziegler. We had AP take over, and now he's re-signed Antonio Pierce. So he's taking steps in the right direction. So
I agree. Aunt Sis, you got anything you want to say?
No, I completely agree too. He's learning as he goes. Because the first time he hired Gruden, okay, I'm gonna do what my dad would have done. Okay, I'm gonna bring back Gruden. Okay, I'm gonna do what I think is best. I'm gonna fucking get the sexiest name out there. I'm gonna get Josh McDaniels and shit. And that didn't work out. And then he's like, okay, now what am I supposed to do? Okay, now I'm gonna go get AP while everybody thinks he's the right man for the job. And that's what he did this time. You know what I mean? So I give him props. He is changing his ways. You know what I mean? Because the old him would have fucking gone and got Jim Harbaugh just because he's the sexiest name out there. You know what I mean? Just because he wants to make a splash. But at the end of the day, we did get the right man for the job. So that's all that matters to me.
Right. And just real quickly, like when you look back at the McDaniels and Ziegler hiring, I mean, look, like he was never my guy, McDaniels. Like I never wanted him, stemming from even when people were throwing his name out there when we were still in the search for the head coach, and I was just like, hell no. But with that said, like, I can see why he was sold on the dream, so to say. I mean, look, the hell with the Patriot way. I never want to go back that route again. But like at the same time, I can see that like his way of thinking was like, well, they've been so successful for so long. Maybe we can try and take that as the kind of body of work that we can try to replicate, and maybe that can bring us to newfound success. Unfortunately, it went the opposite direction. But
right,
you know, lessons learned. Like, we're going to go back to the Raider way and do it our way, and hopefully it can bring us back to being successful in the future.
I agree 1,000%. Shout out to Otis at Too Many Chiefs and the kitchen's never good. I agree. We got Mark Torres. Shout out to you, brother. He said they must draft a QB in round 1. The position is just too valuable. Just look at what Daniel Jones, a mid-tier QB, is valued at. So, yeah, I'm not going to disagree. I know draft picks and a rookie contract, not paying top-tier money is really important. But anything you guys want to say on that?
No, I completely agree. You know what I mean? That's why my dream scenario, us drafting a quarterback and trading up. You know what I mean? We might not get Caleb Williams or fucking what is that, Drake, whatever that guy Drake, or you know what I mean. If we get Jalen Daniels, I'm more than happy. You know what I mean? If we have to trade up to the third pick, you know what I mean? Because the cost of the third pick is not going to be as much as trading up to the number one pick. You know what I mean? Because as much as everybody loves Caleb Williams, I'm not a big fan of him. I've seen a couple of games. I watched a couple games this year. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, he is talented, but I don't think he's hyped up to everything. And the thing is, too, he's listed at 6'1". You really want to know his height? We have to wait until the NFL Combine. He might be 5'11" or even 5'10". So that's another thing that has me worried and shit too about him.
About which quarterback?
Caleb Williams, because he's
Oh,
only
yeah,
listed at 6'1", and you know how in college you actually put in the inch or two taller than you actually are. So what if he comes into the draft and he's only 5'10"? You know what I mean? Or 5'11"?
Right, yeah. Yeah.
So,
I got a rookie card that's autographed by him. So wherever he goes, I'll be looking to dump that card and hopefully I can make some money off it. But Protect the Shield, dude. What up, big dog? Hopefully you're doing good. You guys don't know, Protect the Shield is interviewing Hugh Jackson tomorrow on his channel. I believe it's like gonna be, I think it's at 8 p.m. Eastern time or something like that. So definitely stoked about that interview. So I'll be tuning in that over there.
Yeah.
All right.
He has a very good relationship with Hugh Jackson.
Yeah, I love Hugh, man. Jason Marshall said, I want to see year 3 or 4 with Aiden O'Connell for growth. Dude is no scrub with big arm. Go rookie. If bust out, you got a prime AO4.
I think what he's trying to say is like, you know, he's all for drafting someone, but at least we've got someone who is a capable backup at the very least with Aiden O'Connell, and I share those sentiments as well. I mean,
yeah,
that's him at the very floor, and he showed he can play and he can make some throws and he can get us some wins. So,
yeah. Rebel Raider said, I like Gannon until he threw 4 picks in the Super Bowl. Oh man, he had to go there.
I don't want to get everybody needs to get off Gannon. Okay, it's not his fault. You know what I mean? Fucking stupid ass fucking Callahan changed the game plan fucking 3 days before the fucking Super Bowl and shit. And then Barrett Robbins went haywire and went down to Tijuana and partied like he won the Super Bowl and shit. Like, man, it's just ridiculous, dog. They didn't even change the audibles or anything. I mean, we're just, I don't even want to talk about it. That was my fucking shit.
Yeah, I don't even know who brought that up, but it was like definitely like a knife in the heart, dude. AG Raider, what up, big dog? Hope you're doing good. Have Raider Way in here.
Right away. It's my dude.
So Jason said, no matter who the QB is, O-line number 1 must. Lathan from Bama, hard to pass up a fall to 13 after workouts. I do think we need offensive linemen, depending on what we get. If we're going to trade up for drafting a quarterback, I think rounds 2 to 3 or something like that, we got to get a pretty darn good offensive lineman. I'm not saying necessarily in the first round, but because like here's the thing, I don't want to go too much down a rabbit hole, but what if Bo Nix or Penix Jr. is there at 13? Would you guys consider maybe drafting them for a quarterback? You know, if we don't move up, kind of thing. I kind of if we're gonna stick with Aiden O'Connell for a backup versus like when I was suggesting maybe getting a Hendon Hooker kind of deal. If we're gonna keep Aiden O'Connell, I kind of like a Bo Nix. You know, drafting a Bo Nix. Because I think his skill set's a little closer to Aiden O'Connell, but that's just kind of something I've been kind of recently thinking about. But any thoughts on like if Bo Nix or Penix Jr. were to fall to us at 13?
To be honest, my knowledge when it comes to the quarterbacks at college, like I know there's a lot of exciting prospects coming out in this year's draft, maybe more so than what it's been in the last few drafts, if I'm not mistaken. With that said, I'm the kind of guy I don't watch a lot of football outside of Raider football, including college. Sometimes I'll tune into the college, but like I like to wait till we draft someone and then I'll go back and watch not just a highlight film, but go back and watch their games. You know what I mean? Because any player can look like a superstar, the next coming of Joe Montana or whatever it is, by their highlight film. You know what I mean? I want to see their whole game playing against, like, say, another power school and see what they do. So, you know, if we get one of those guys, cool. Like, I'm gonna ride with it and give him a chance. But yeah, I'm gonna wait till see who we've actually got in the door, and then go and do a more in-depth look at like their game tape, rather than just looking at a whole bunch of film on players we probably won't even draft. So that's just me personally.
Yeah, I like it. On 6, any thoughts on if Bo Nix or Penix Jr. was there at 13 if we didn't trade up?
To be honest with you, I like Penix Jr. before he faced, he played Michigan, I believe, and that's the closest thing he's ever going to see to NFL defense, and he looked freaking horrible. You know what I mean? And he had 2 good receivers, so that only makes me worried and shit. If that's the first time he actually went up against the defense, it makes me worry him. But the quarterback from Oregon, he's all right. I'm not saying he's going to be Justin Herbert, but I will be more comfortable drafting them in the second round, or even trade up into the second round to draft them, But we'll wait and see on that. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? You don't have to get a quarterback in the first round to find your franchise quarterback. We got Derek Carr in the second round, you know what I mean? Just because there's a couple quarterbacks that are in the semifinals of the conference championship that were first round pick doesn't mean that ours has to be as well.
I like it. Jason Marshall.
And another one is Patrick. Sorry to cut you off. Another one is where was Patrick Mahomes chosen? That year's draft class, he was not one of the more coveted draft quarterbacks in that class.
I think it was 10th overall or something like that. I know the Chiefs traded up from
pretty sure it was like 13 or 14. It wasn't like he wasn't the most. He was like the third or fourth most touted quarterback coming out of that draft class.
Right. Yeah.
And whether we like to admit it or not, look how that's panned out.
No, for real. Yeah. And the worst thing about that draft is the Bears drafted a Mitch Trubisky and Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes were in that draft. So yeah.
Well, and Alex Smith was playing.
They were like, to my point, they were more highly touted prospects than Patrick Mahomes. He was drafted, number 10.
Well, and Alex Smith was playing pretty good for the Chiefs. It wasn't like he was some scrub. I mean, I know Alex Smith didn't do good when he was on the Niners, but when Alex Smith came over, he was doing pretty good before they drafted Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean? So, and then, I know Alex Smith went over to the Commanders or Redskins or whatever and ended up getting hurt. But I'm just saying, like, it wasn't like they were in a real bad situation. They, were kind of, Alex Smith was taking them to playoffs still. So, then Jason Marshall said, old timers, remember those 3 Super Bowls was built by best O-line in the game, pay top dollar on free agency too. Talking about building the offensive line. I mean, I agree. This offensive line has to get a lot better, no matter who the quarterback is, So
we do have some guys there. I mean, we still have Colton Miller, who's one of the better left tackles in the game. Dylan Parham has been doing a decent enough job. And Sam Mumford, I think he's showed a lot of progression to me, being that swing tackle and possibly a guy we could plug in to start, like on either side. I mean, if Colton Miller, if we let his contract run out or he becomes injured, I mean, look at how Sam Mumford did in his second year at left tackle when he was taking over Colton. I thought he did a fantastic job.
Yeah,
and for a guy, and I made this point on a few lives and my own, like, when you think about it, for a guy we chose in the 7th round, who was supposed to be a guard, I mean, for me personally, I saw more progression and I saw more progress and in his play than what I saw in the first 2 years of guys we drafted a hell of a lot higher in the last few years. Like, I'm looking at, Colt Miller, granted he panned out, but like his first year he struggled. Granted he had injuries. His second year he started to come along, much like Thayer Mumford. Alex Leatherwood, Brandon Parker, guys we drafted a lot higher and expected a lot more from Leatherwood, from Mumford, and Mumford to me has played well beyond what they produced. So, we do have some pieces there on the offensive line. Just a few tweaks here and there.
Yeah, I like it. So Mark Torres talking about almost all remaining QBs are first rounders, Purdy being the exception, no coincidence. But I mean, yeah, I guess that's an interesting take that a lot of the but there's a lot of busts too, guys. You got to go back. I mean, yeah, you're right that the quarterbacks in this like playoffs are right now, or like most of them are like first rounders, but typically you're going to get a lot more misses than hits. But hopefully that's not the case for the Raiders, this year or whatever. So,
right. Jury's still out with last year's draft class, in my opinion.
Yeah, so Big Hat kind of said something like we were talking about or thinking, at least me and Aunt Six, about Justin Fields about, even if you were to get him for a good trade value, a big contract is going to make it hard to digest, kind of thing. And he said, let me know what you think about this. Trade Devontae Adams, trade up to get a Marvin Harrison Jr. and signing a Russell Wilson for cheap because Denver has to eat that contract. I've thought about the Russell Wilson thing. I just feel like I think that's some of the problem. I think that's some of the problem with these mobile quarterbacks is they use a lot of their athletic ability to become a good to great quarterback. But then when they get older and their athletic abilities dive down, then, they're not as good because the stuff that made them great, using their legs, running all over the place, they can't do it like they used to. And I think that's what Russell Wilson, I think he's still a good quarterback. I just don't think he can run around like he used to. And that's what made him really good. I kid you guys not, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn. When I saw Russell Wilson coming out of the draft and in preseason, I think it was game 2, I saw him and I said, holy shit, that guy needs to be a starter in the NFL. You know what I mean?
I saw that too.
And
remember Matt Flynn was supposed to be their quarterback.
Yeah, and I think they had, who'd you say, Matt Flynn? Or
yes, Matt Flynn was supposed to be their starter.
Yeah, they just got Matt Flynn from the Packers. I think they just gave him a contract.
I remember. I saw the same things you did.
Yeah, and so, but and he was good for a long time. Won, a Super Bowl, or should have been 2, but yeah, won, a Super Bowl the Seahawks, and yeah, he wasn't a first round draft pick, but they get older, they lose some athletic abilities, and I just feel like, I don't know about the Russell Wilson thing. It just seems kind of.
I have one take as well. I think the key thing with Wilson is I think he's a very bad culture fit for the Raiders. He's not what we need at all. That guy's a dick and an unlikable kind of person. Just no thanks. Like, yeah, granted, like he's had a degree of success previously with the Seahawks, and he was coming along with the Broncos, but like with a team that started to build an identity and a culture towards since AP took over, I don't think he fits that at all. So no thanks on Russell Wilson. I appreciate the thinking, but he's no.
Yeah. Raider Way said, let Hooker go. Hardcore. I wanted Anthony Richardson and both got hurt. Hendon Hooker was hurt before the draft. Got hurt in college, but no, I hear you, bro. And cheers. Cheers to you. But I'm not letting him go. That's my guy. You wait, bro. When Hendon Hooker ends up being a franchise quarterback and takes the Lions to a Super Bowl, you just wait, bro.
No, I completely agree with you. I wanted Hooker as well, but you know what I mean? I didn't want to draft him in the first or second round. I wanted to take him the later round just because his injury was a big concern for me. But he was one of the better quarterbacks coming out the draft, especially with his vision and his footwork. You know what I mean? He could have, you know what I mean? He did have a really good season, and that was one of the quarterbacks I did want us to draft, even just to have him a redshirt for a year and just see what he could do next year. But, maybe one day after, you know what I mean, the Lions give up on him, he will get him over here, but we'll see.
Yeah, it'd be nice, man. James Furpo, Raiders. What up, big dog? And you guys got any questions left? Put them in the chat. Trying to get caught up here. Kind of scroll through some of these fast. I don't want to go too long here, but
sorry guys, I got a dip. My niece needs feeding, so okay, thanks for having me on Hardcore on 6, my brother. Everybody in the chat. Hope you all have a good evening, and go Raiders. All right. Peace.
I appreciate you, bro. I'll put your link in the chat so everybody can check you out. All right, you guys appreciate Afakasi Raider coming on here. Make sure you guys go follow him on or subscribe to his YouTube channel. I'm gonna try to get through the rest of these if there's any good ones in here. Or who are they all calling now? How much? Real Raider said Raiders probably all calling know how much to get car out of impound yard. Nice. Was there any other topics you wanted to chop it up about at all, man? On 6?
No, I think we're covered everything, man. The only thing now is just we got to wait and see on the offensive coordinator, man. I know there's been a couple of names floating around, but I don't even understand why we're interviewing the offensive coordinator from the fucking Bears. You know what I mean? That guy did such a horrible job developing Justin Fields, and now we're trying to bring him over here. I don't even know where we're interviewing him, but I mean, it just should be interesting who we get over here.
Yeah. Raider Pete, shout out to you, bro. He said, rewatch, just got home. All I know is keeping Champ in some capacity should happen. I agree. And then we need a coordinator that can make halftime adjustments. I agree. Also, Graham to Seattle. What next? Oh, is it official?
No, I don't think so. They were saying he
I mean,
interviewed him.
I know he
More
went
than
for the. I know he went for the second interview, but I don't know. I don't know if it came down line that it's official now. I wonder if that's what he said.
I think everybody were making a roar, and they would have been blown up the chat if it actually happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good point. Robert, shout out to you, Robert Davila said, what I still don't get is how the hell the Texans got so far. Dude, younger coaching and guys that can get their players motivated, and CJ Stroud balling the F out, bro. CJ Stroud's a stud. I was like, CJ Stroud's 1 or 2. Like him and Hendon Hooker, I thought were gonna be the best quarterbacks out of this draft, man. I mean, people like I forget who it was. What I was saying, they liked Anthony Richardson, but that dude only played 2 years in college, guys. Anthony Richardson only played 2 years in college, so he's hella raw, and he could develop, but you're risking a lot drafting a guy that high that only played 2 years in college, and a lot of these quarterbacks aren't playing as long as they used to. But that's why I feel like guys like Hendon Hooker and Aiden O'Connell, they've played like 4 years in college, some of them like a 5th year, so being a little bit older, I don't think is a downside. Downside to me, it just means they have more experience, in my opinion. But
and the thing is too, a lot of people want to give O'Connell fucking give him shit, but he was the second best rookie quarterback behind CJ Stroud this year. You know what I mean? So you got to give him some credit at some point. You know what I mean? Especially too, you know what I mean? He wasn't even supposed to start or even see the field this year. He was supposed to be a redshirt year for him to learn the offense and shit. So for him to even do what he's doing, should give him a lot of credit.
yeah, no, I agree, man. So Super Omicron, shout out to you, bro. He said hiring Champ Kelly as a GM would have been third straight chummy relationship with head coach. I mean, that's a good point. You don't always want guys that are friends with each other kind of deal. I get what you're saying. And then first Gruden Mayock, then McDaniels Ziegler. Let's give Telesco the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, dude, I ain't mad at it, bro. I'm really not. I think, I hope we still keep Champ Kelly in some sort of aspect, but if they get rid of him, then it's all good.
No, for us.
Right away. So hopefully I have clips of Gannon's Super Bowl. Nice. Oh man. Here's a good one. All right. So Super Omicron said Bo Nix is a good anticipation thrower, pretty accurate when he has his feet set, needs to be in his fundamentals. Watch Oregon State, panics and rush. Okay. It's good. Good topic for the potential Bo Nix. I haven't watched too much about him. It's just, there's some stuff I watched and I was like, I'm just considering some like all scenarios right now, at once like a month or so passes, I'm gonna do some research on some guys. I'm gonna have a better opinion on exactly what I want to happen. Right now, I'm just like, I know the equation, I know the question, and I'm just trying to look at all the state data right now. That's usually what I try to do, but go ahead, bro.
No, I'm saying with me, I actually like college football, and the thing with me, there's once I follow, I don't know who it is on Instagram, but I follow somebody, and they were telling me where the Raiders scouts are at, and they were at the Washington Oregon game with both of those quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Bo Nix and Penix Jr. You know what I mean? So the Raiders did have their scouts there. You know what I mean? And I think our Dave Ziegler was actually at that game as well. So I don't know if it means anything now, but it was just interesting that they sent all their scouts and shit to watch that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, well said, bro. And right here, right away, he said, "Great show, appreciate you, bro." Everybody else for tuning in. We're getting to the end here, so last call to get some questions in. Said, "Yeah, hardcore. It should have been 2 Super Bowl. That Lynch, yeah, that no run was weird. Yeah, I know. I kind of made a point on that last year about how important the run game is." All right, so Cowtown Luda said, "What do you think about trading back with someone like Detroit for their first, second, and loading up on young talent in the draft to fill holes and add depth?" In my opinion, I think Latham or Guyton and BB and top D tackle. Right now, if we were to do that, you have to be you'd either have to get a quarterback in free agency or really convince Aiden O'Connell's going to be the guy. I don't hate the idea. I still think you need a quarterback in this draft, but in my opinion, once you get past, as of right now, once you get past like Bo Nix and Penix Jr. or Penix Jr. then Bo Nix, Most of those other quarterbacks don't, they don't do much for me. You know what I mean? But I also wasn't looking at Aiden O'Connell. He turned out to be okay. But, I just feel like if you're going to target a quarterback, if you're going to trade back, get more draft picks, you still got to get another quarterback, I feel, whether it's the second and the third round. And then I don't know that any talent worth a hoot is going to be there in the second and third round for quarterback. But anything you want to say on that, bro?
No, I completely agree. And the thing is, too, before everybody gets excited for the draft and stuff, we still have one major event, and that's the NFL free agency. You know what I mean? We still got to figure out what players we do sign and what this roster's going to look at prior to the draft. You know what I mean? Because for all you know, for example, we might sign Kirk Cousins, so that might take us out of a quarterback in the first round. You know what I mean? We might have to go defensive line or cornerback or somebody else. So I know everybody, wants their horses for a quarterback, but it all depends on where we're really doing free agency and just move on from there.
I like it. And Cowtown Luda said, but if we can get a cornerback in the late rounds, Dwight, I can't even pronounce that. McLaughlin gets picks and is a good late round pick. I'll have to look into him. So Omicron was talking about first and second ranked running game for Chicago 22-23. You have to remember that Justin Fields is getting like 1,000 yards a year. You really want your quarterback you're paying 45 or 40 plus mil, to a franchise quarterback running 1,000+ yards a year. That's asking for trouble, in my opinion. So I hear what you're saying, but part of that top running game is their quarterback running way too much. That's way too much high risk, low reward. It's not even high risk, high reward, in my opinion. It's high risk, low reward, because if it was high risk, high reward, the Bears would be having a much better record the last 2 seasons than they had. So I hear what you're saying and like the point you're trying to get across, but I don't exactly agree, because I think a lot of that yards is from their quarterback running the ball way too much. But I don't know. Did you want to say something on that, Aunt?
No, I completely agree. I do not want this guy at all. I don't understand why we brought him in. He didn't even develop Justin Fields. That's why, the Bears are thinking about taking Caleb Williams. So I don't even understand why he's even in here or even considered for the OC job.
I like it. All right, these guys are kind of rambling back and forth. All right, let's see what else they got to say. So JJ was good, run like a mofo. What did he say? He said, yeah, right, hardcore. He might get Fields injured again. Agreed. So talking about going all in on Jalen Johnson, another Chicago guy. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like kind of the offseason, I try not to be as emotional as in-season guys. So for me, like I like to kind of weigh a lot of different scenarios. Then I'll get my heart set on 1 or 2 guys or scenarios. And if it doesn't happen, I'll probably be pissed off again. But that's kind of how I am, like I wanted Hendon Hooker last year, and he wouldn't have been able to play this year, but he probably should be ready for next year. You know what I mean? And then we'd be in a completely different situation where we may not even need to draft a quarterback in the first round. Where like now, we're looking at drafting a quarterback in the first round, and yeah, maybe some of these other guys are better than Hendon Hooker. That is possible. But I just think whatever the Raiders do this offseason, we got to get it right. They got to really do their homework this offseason and get this shit right. We have I feel like a short window. Yeah, we can draft for the longer term plan, but in my opinion, we have like a 1 to 3 year window we need to focus on. The McDaniels and Ziegler plan, I don't think was ever going to work, because they were trying to win now and they were trying to do a 3 to 5 year plan. Yeah, you always want to be drafting for the next guys and stuff, but you got to choose a direction. In my opinion, we got to figure out, with some of the guys we got, the talent we got on the team, to be in a 1 to 3 year window starting this offseason. But that's just kind of my thoughts where we're at right now. And hopefully they kind of do something to get us to the playoffs, because that's what I want, man. But you got any last words to say, Aunt Six? Appreciate you coming on here, brother.
Of course, man. No, thanks for having me on. And before I get out of here, I just want the nation to know, we got the right man for the job in AP. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I don't know much about this GM, but he does know how to draft players and build a team. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, that is your job as a GM. You know what I mean? To bring in the best talent in here. You know what I mean? So we can build a Super Bowl team, so we can get back to the playoffs. Because at the end of the day, I truly believe we're only maybe like 4 or 5 players away from being a playoff contender. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for 2 games, we could have made the playoffs. So it just makes you think, if Mark Davis would have fucking fired Josh McDaniels earlier, would this team could have actually made the playoffs. So with that being said, thanks for having me on Hardcore. Shout out to the chat. I'm out of here. Have a good one.
All right, appreciate it, brother. Much love, dude. Thanks again for coming on, bro. It was a lot of fun. All right, guys. I'm gonna get out of here, I think. I know you're talking about Hendon Hooker and his age. Yeah, I think you're right about Aiden O'Connell, or not Aiden O'Connell, Justin Fields being younger than Hendon Hooker, but I was gonna pull something up here real quick if it will let me. So stats. So ESPN doesn't have the let's see. No. ESPN doesn't have the college stats anymore, so it'd take me a minute to find it. But the main thing I'm just gonna say is like, yeah, he's younger, but if you look at how many years that Hendon Hooker started in college, I think it was like 4 or 5 years, and then I think it was like 5 interceptions. It was less than 8 interceptions Hendon Hooker threw in like the last 2 years. It may have been 5, dude. It was nuts. If you look at how many interceptions Hendon Hooker threw, his like interception to touchdown ratio was nuts in college. Like, there's a reason why he was in the running for a Heisman Trophy, and he probably would have got it had he not gotten hurt. So Hendon Hooker, was a super stud, and yeah, he had an ACL. So, but if you look at it, depends how you slice and dice it, guys. But I just want to say, I appreciate you guys for coming in here. I do believe Hendon Hooker is a franchise quarterback that's stuck on a second string quarterback on a team. And, there's not too often that's going to happen. Yeah, guys come in and fill in and they can be a starter, but there's very seldom where I would say, like, you look at a team and you're like, oh, they got a backup. That's a franchise quarterback, and the Lions have that, in my opinion. So I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but time will tell. If the Lions keep Jared Goff, they're still going to have a franchise quarterback on their team as a second string quarterback. And they, some other team could trade for him for not a lot. And, I'm not talking about trading for, 3 first-round draft picks. I'm talking about, you either trade Aiden O'Connell and a 3rd or 4th round draft pick, or, maybe just trade a 2nd round straight up, And I know before I even said anything, I know 98% of people are going to think I'm crazy. That's fine. Everybody had Justin Hurts wrong in the draft as well. And I was one of the few guys that liked Justin Hurts. So just leave it at that. And, but yeah, appreciate you guys, man. And, it's just something to consider, man. I'm not saying trade away the kitchen sink if you were to explore Hendon Hooker. I'm saying look into it. It never hurts to I like to overturn every stone, explore every opportunity. If the door closes, it's not an option, then fine, you go a different path. I'm just saying explore all avenues before, like I like Jaden Daniels. I like some of these quarterbacks, but before you're going to go leveraging, the next 3 years of 1st round draft picks, just, figure out if you could make something happen and what it would take. They're probably going to want to back up. Aiden O'Connell's a lot closer to their scheme than Hendon Hooker. And, if you could get Hendon Hooker for Aiden O'Connell and minimal draft capital, you might have a franchise quarterback as a backup. You could still go draft a guy high in the draft if you want, but I'm just saying, it may not be something to explore, because if you could land a guy like Hendon Hooker for a backup and, just kick the tires, he might end up winning the starting job, and we might be like, oh my God. And if 2-3 years from now, Hendon Hooker ends up being a starter and he's not on the Raiders, it's gonna hurt me pretty bad. I'm gonna be pissed because I know the Raiders could have got him and they fucking whiffed on it. So we'll see. As of right now, I don't have my Hendon Hooker guy in this draft. I don't have anybody I'm in love with. Last year, there's just something different. I saw that dude, you know what I mean? But so I have my hopes set on one guy. I do right now. I'm probably leaning more towards Jaden Daniels, but I'm trying to keep an open mind this offseason to see how it's going to play out, but it's all good. I just want to explore all options, and then hopefully this Raiders team figures out the best solution, and hopefully we're not pissed off and disappointed at the end. I just want to win, baby. Right. We all just want to win. Just need someone to take us to the promised land and get us a Super Bowl victory. And I think we can do it in the next 1 to 3 years if they do this shit right. They just have to get it right. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with having plan A and plan B. Plan A don't work, you have plan B. What you don't want is to have plan A don't work, and then plan B, you don't have a plan B, or plan B don't work either, because then you're in real trouble. So, so for me, I always like to explore all avenues and stuff. And then after I've done my research, I feel like strong conviction, then I'll stick usually pretty strong to my guns and kind of what I'm thinking or whatnot. But nevertheless, appreciate you guys, dude. Much love. See how this thing goes down. I think things are moving in the right direction. Appreciate you guys. And I'm Hardcore Raider. There's only one nation. That's Raider Nation. Later.